Lamine Yamal steps into McDonald's, looks left, sees Pulisic, looks right, sees Jimenez. Gives a nod to Ronaldinho in the corner with a FIFA World Cup meal. Ronaldinho sees Son in the booth. Son finds Beckham going for extra Big Mac sauce. He's got Davies at the table just behind him. Davies going for his collectible cup. Oh no! A steal by Henry, who pulls his own collectible cup. Collect one of 9 legendary cups with a FIFA World Cup meal.
At participating McDonald's for a limited time while supplies last. All rights reserved. 2026 McDonald's at FIFA World Cup 2026.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Underrated Movie Podcast. This is Unreleased, a mini-series where we are discussing films that are unreleased, unavailable, and under a tax cut. And today we are going to be discussing the 2018 film Black Mirror Bandersnatch, which was an interactive film released for Netflix that is no longer available on the streaming service. I am your host, Derek McDuff, and joining me to discuss the movie is the man himself, one of the co-hosts of the old Switch Aru, and that is Jaymo. Put it on the shades, looking cool. People can't see that at home, but just want everybody to know that you are styling right now.
Hello, Derek. Welcome to PODS, the Perspective Origination Determination System. Right now, you are in control of a cutting-edge, never-before-seen audio engagement experience that puts you in unprecedented control of the Jolly Man operation, or Jaymo for short. In this interactive co-host arrangement, you'll be given complete control of Jaymo's actions every 20 minutes. His emotions and his contributions are 100% authentic, but the direction he steers the conversation is entirely in your hands, whether he likes it or not. To begin, would you like Jaymo to express A, excitement at discussing 2018's Black Mirror Bandersnatch, or B, resentment at losing to Derek in the Wild Mouse Debate podcast?
Ooh, you know what? Let's stick with A for this one.
Oh, okay, I'm so relieved because I really want to be excited about this. I had a whole rant about you being a joyless fuck who doesn't like the Mario Kart ride. But you know what though? You like good freaking movies, Derek. Oh my God. I am so excited to talk about this movie. I am so excited to have watched it again. This is going to be wild. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm really glad to have you. And, you're somebody who, it's interesting because this is a film, but it almost is like has some DNA with video games. And you are somebody who knows about video games. Before we get too much into the weeds of Bandersnatch, what do you want to let people know about yourself and your video games?
Yeah, so like Derek said, I host the Old Switch Aru podcast. We are trying to research, review, and playfully rib every game in the Nintendo Classics catalog on Nintendo Switch Online. We've had Derek on many times talking about Pokemon and Kirby and Zelda. And one of the things we like is that it's the exact opposite of this miniseries. If you're listening to this, everything he's going to cover is really difficult to obtain. But our thing is the opposite. With just like a cheap subscription, you can play any of these games with us. So join our Discord, www.theoldswitcheroo.com, and come listen to some Derek episodes. They're some of our best ones.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I always have fun over there. But yeah, like you were alluding to, this is a whole mini-series about stuff that is basically, unviewable, and we did obviously watch this movie in some format, otherwise it would be very difficult to review. But the reason for doing this whole podcast series is that films, despite us living in an age where everything's seemingly available at the tips of our fingers, some things are not. And there was a period where Netflix was all going all in on interactive film, and now they are all gone. This was, along with the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt special, was one of the last ones standing, and this thing was so freaking cool. This, choose your own adventure style Black Mirror movie. JMO, I wanted to know what your history is with Bandersnatch.
So I was really into Black Mirror for the first couple of seasons. Jackie and I watched it on Netflix together. It felt like and feels like today our generation's like Twilight Zone. Like
Mm,
it has these perspective bending, mind bending premises that also feel completely possible. I do feel that like as the series went on, it started to fall into the trap of like, ooh, what if technology but spooky?
mhm.
That kind of became a bit predictable, but watching this again, right? And I don't know if we're going to get into how we watched it again, but like I've seen it recently. It makes me want to go back to those Black Mirror seasons I haven't watched because I think the quality of the filmmaking on essentially every Black Mirror episode, the acting, the cinematography, the music, it's just really A tier. So my perspective with Bandersnatch specifically is Jackie and I watched it when it came out. I was not sober for the first viewing. So the plot twistiness hit very hard, but being sober this time around watching it, it was compelling for totally different reasons. Like whereas I mean I don't know if you ever like, unsober yourself for a movie viewing, but sometimes it kind of enhances the feeling. It
Mhm,
kind of enhances the mood, I think, if it's a comedy and you're a little
mhm.
tipsy, for example. But this movie, seeing it the second time, I noticed so much more. I know you're a big fan of my notes.
Yes, yes, always.
4 pages of handwritten notes this time,
Oh,
which
wow.
made me feel like the guy in Bandersnatch, like scribbling, like, it was
What does it
like
mean?
I felt kind of in the experience.
Hmm.
So saw it when it came out, saw it again recently, loved it both times. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I watched this when it came out, and for people who are listening to this who might not be aware, this thing is really very difficult to find. You can't really find it through normal channels. Like I said, it's not on Netflix anymore. There's always workarounds for movies. I talked about the 1994 Fantastic Four, which was available. I talked about how in the last episode of how The Fall, which is available now, was unavailable for so long. You can theoretically find it, but it's not, and there might even be a way to watch it with the options where you can still choose the different things, which is the whole premise of the movie. It's an interactive film. You're interacting and making these choices for this character, Stefan, which is set in the 80s. He's a game designer who is obsessed with this choose your own adventure book. So it plays into both the way that video games give you these options, but also a choose your own adventure story does. It becomes very meta in that aspect with like the whole choices determining things. Like it really works well in that aspect. So when it first came out in 2018, I had seen some Black Mirror stuff. I wasn't hugely into it, but I thought because of the interactive nature in it is what really caught my attention, and I did all of it. I did every single option. So there's like 5 hours or something, and a lot of it's just like seeing, okay, if I go this way, just like when I was a kid, when I would choose your own adventure books, you kind of like, all right, okay, let me go back to this page. What if I had made this choice? And you eventually, it's like the Will Poulter character says at one point when Stefan asks him, well, what ending do you get? And he says, all of them. And I made sure, and I went through and I was like, well, what with this? Because they're so sprawling and so different and so meta, and some of them completely break the fourth wall, and some of them go off into crazy sci-fi territory, and some of them go off into like weird paranoia thriller, and some of them are like time travel, like mind-bending Lewis Carroll references, and there's so much insane stuff in this that I just had to be like, all right, well, what if I had done this differently? What if I had done this way? So I absolutely loved it. It was really cool going back to it because even though I wasn't able to make those choices, you are still able to like feel the effects of those choices. It's still very rooted in the choose your own adventure thing. That's not lost at all. Just kind of watching it in one shot. When I watched it this time, the feed that we both watched is like all of it. It's like the 5+ hours of it. But the first about 90 minutes is kind of a one shot because just like in the original one, there's choices that you make that end up being like very early on. It kind of the film teaches you this was a bad choice. This choice that it seems like a good one, it loops back around. And the fact that you made that choice and loop back around, characters start to remember, like, hey, I've met you before. Like, I remember this. It all gets very integrated into the story. So it did still work. Even though I'm not actually clicking on my remote to make this choice, you do still feel that hand. And I did watch, that first whole 90 minutes and skipped ahead to like watch various, see if I missed any endings or anything. What was your experience like watching it this time?
Well, so I think it was compelling for a wholly different reason.
Mm.
I was really prepared for the big sad of like, I wish I could like choose the different, because it's really cool. I think we need to acknowledge like how this kind of trend all started. 2015's Until Dawn was a runaway success, and that PlayStation game was essentially you watching a movie where you make a lot of choices. And that had streamers streaming it, and they were like with their chat making decisions, and that kind of created this new collaborative storytelling genre. Have you messed with any of those games like As Dusk Falls or like the Planet of the Apes game where it's like a party game, but everyone's contributing to the decision by voting on their phone?
I have not. It does sound really cool because I do
It's so
love the
fun.
whole interactive thing, and I know it goes back to like Dragon's Lair, like that. Like I mean, even further than that, but like that was like a big one. Was like the Don Bluth Dragon's Lair arcade game, which is just like essentially quick time events and cutscenes where you would like be choosing different things. And I think it's interesting. Like, where's the delineation between game and movie? Like what? And it's really this blurring Venn diagram thing between the two of them.
Yeah, and so like you alluded to, this story breaks fourth walls in truly jaw-dropping ways. Like I remember on the first playthrough, I guess we'll call it, that I did with Jackie, we got the moment where okay, so the premise is that this guy is making this game that is a choose your own adventure inspired by a book that was written by a science fiction author who went mad.
Mhm.
This guy had this manic breakdown about free will and ended up decapitating his own wife, and so the book was really infamous. And then your copy of the book, oh my god, I said your. I knew I was going to do that. You feel so connected to Stefan because you're making decisions for him that you feel like him.
Right. It's if there was a second person movie, then this would be it.
100%, 100%. And so the tale is essentially centered around him trying to both release his game and hold on to his sanity. And so our first playthrough, we got the one where he is aware that you, the Netflix viewer, are watching him. And he is screaming to the heavens, aka you sitting on your couch watching, I know you're there. Give me a sign. And you have like, I think one of three different choices to make.
Mhm.
And we got the one where you talk to him and you say, oh, hey, I'm watching you on Netflix.
Yeah, he's like, what
And
the fuck is Netflix?
I'm getting goosebumps though right now because it felt so surreal to see my choices in something that I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like the quality feels very filmic and it feels like, this is a triple A science fiction production and I'm part of it. I'm on the screen right there. I'm messing with him and he knows I'm messing with him. I did not expect that when I first heard what this was.
Yeah, no, it's super cool the way it gets very meta and starts really breaking down those walls. And so it's because my favorite choose your own adventure stuff is always where it plays with the premise of like choices are being made, right? And it's always fun. It's like, okay, well, do you go with the unicorn or do you go like over here to the castle, and it's that's fun stuff. But like I recently read there's a I don't know if you're familiar with the McElroy brothers, but Griffin McElroy just released a choose your own adventure book called The Stowaway, and it also gets very much into that like, hey, this is a choose your own adventure book. These things that you're reading, these choices that you made, are playing into it. So I recommend that book to anybody who enjoyed this movie because it plays on a lot of same things. It's a lot less dark than this. This is obvious. It's Black Mirror, so it's very bleak. But in a weird way, there's some like of the more depressing endings are like kind of like almost hopeful. I feel like so I really like playing around that stuff. Like this was so cool. Just thinking about like, oh yeah, there's this choice. You like how you said you're directly interacting with him. He is talking to you, the viewer, and you're like, yeah, I'm watching you from the 21st century. I'm watching you here in the future. And then that other ending where he wakes up and he's like in a TV show and he's talking to his therapist. She's like, well, shouldn't this be wouldn't there be more action if this was just a TV show? And then they start like a fight, and you can either fight her and like have it just be, you know, this like action finale, or you can like try to go out the window and then it pulls back and you're like on the set of the movie and somebody's talking to him as the actor, and all the like the dad actor is just like another actor, and it's just like fucking mind-blowing, you know. And it's just like, yeah, you can go that route, or you can also go get your stuffed rabbit and stop your like mom, and you know, talk to your mom who's about to die in a train in the 70s or whatever. It's so wild that it lets you do all of these different things, and you feel like a character in this movie in a way that it is really impossible to do with something that isn't interactive. And it's also why I'm really sad that this kind of thing has gone away. And it's something that people have tried for a long time to make. Like we talked about the video games, but there's also like there was like a whole genre of like laserdisc movies in like the 90s, where it was like you basically it's to choose your own adventure. It's always something that people try to toy with, and it feels like maybe every 20 years or so we get a really cool new way to do it, and then that goes away. And I'm sad that this one has, you know, Netflix thing has largely gone away.
Yeah, it's. Did you hear the one that Silent Hill attempted?
I don't. Did you? You might have told me about it when we talked about Silent Hill, but remind me.
Silent Hill had a like choose your own adventure one, but what was interesting is it was a collaborative story. Like everyone got the same path, but people voted on how they wanted the story decisions to be made.
Hmm.
And in one of the most controversial decisions ever, you could pay more to have more sway in the vote. And people are like, "What the hell?" Like you'd earn points, you know what I mean? And that would
Yeah.
contribute to the character's decisions, but it just ruined the agency, or not the agency, the buy-in that people had. They're like, well, this isn't my story anymore. This is like the 1%, or
Hmm.
the whales, you know. And I do kind of feel sorry for whales, who are being taken advantage of by predatory microtransactions. I do think that is a real issue.
Hmm.
But yeah, what I love so much is that you talking about the ending where you or Stefan, I did it again. Stefan realizes he's on a Netflix set, but if you choose to engage in the fight scene, it's really cartoonish. And
Hmm.
like the dad jumps in out of nowhere and is like, oh, starts fighting you too. And he also knows Kung Fu. But then Stefan is dragged away by them and he's screaming like, "Oh, we gave them a good ending, huh? This was
Hmm.
fun, huh?" But
Yeah.
the other characters don't break the fourth wall. So
Hmm.
that in that ending, Stefan is not in a Netflix show but
Right.
thinks
Yeah.
he is. And in the other one, he's in a Netflix show and thinks he's not. Like,
Hmm.
oh, holy hell. This is Derek, this is arguably the best movie ever because it's every movie ever. It is
Hmm.
horror, it is like science fiction, like, you know, time travel-y, it is funny at points. It's just a compelling small family drama. It feels like true crime at points. I cannot believe how ambitious they got with this, and to have it be just erased from the internet. It is maybe the most compelling case I've ever seen for people pirating things for the sake of preservation.
Hmm.
Because the actor who plays Stefan, did you get that? We're horrible people if we don't know, because he
Uh,
performance of a lifetime.
yeah. Finn. He's from the guy from
Will
Dunkirk.
Poulter is the other, Colin Rittman,
Yeah.
uh,
Finn Whitehead.
Finn Whitehead.
Or Fionn Whitehead. I'm not sure how to pronounce his first name. It's Irish.
This has to. I mean, I didn't see him in Dunkirk, but this has to be one of the best performances he's ever given in his life.
He's incredible in this, and like you said, yeah, like this thing, just depending on, you know, what vibes you're going for, the tones are wildly different. If you're like, yeah, I want to have him kill his dad, you know, and he's just like, I can't not do this, and you smack him. Or if you want to go down
Oh,
this like conspiracy route, or if you want to be like, hey man, like what does it all mean? Like, well, I'll take these psychedelic drugs, and like we have to choose, like, are we going over the edge or are we not going over the edge, you know? Like it's very much, you can like not just, like you said, not just choose your own adventure, but choose your own genre in a lot of ways. But all of those genres are still supporting, and all of those choices are still supporting the core themes, which are about free will. And I love that this movie, about choosing your own adventure, and with all these different branches, it's about free will, it's about human nature, it's about decisions, and do we have free will? What do you think about the themes of this movie?
mind blowing. Mind-blowing in every sense of the word, because are you aware that Bandersnatch was a game that got caught in development hell?
I
Like
did not
this
know
was,
that.
yeah, right? So this is gently, lightly based on a true story. Okay?
Okay.
And the theme of free will while still feeling trapped, I think made our rinky-dink, non-interactive viewing very interesting
Mm-hmm.
because and again, I am more for let's preserve the way this is meant to be seen and played. I am very sad, and I hope they bring it back one day. And I wonder, actually, was Kimmy Schmidt versus the Reverend this good? Like that was their other big choose your own adventure movie, but no one talked about that one.
No, it was fun. I think if you're like a Kimmy Schmidt fan, you'll have a good time with it. But like, I think you can watch this without having seen a single second of Black Mirror, and you're still gonna be like, this is incredible. Whereas Kimmy Schmidt is just like, hey, this is a fun conceit doing on Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah, but so I love the way that this story portrays mental breakdown. I
Mm.
think that Stefan is both sympathetic and hard to love,
Yeah.
which I don't know if you've ever like had loved ones, or personally dealt with instability, but it is very taxing on a family unit. And so like the dad is one of my favorite characters. As long as it's not the version of the dad where he's not the dad and he's just doing
Right.
experiments, Project Pack, which
Hmm.
is where Stefan learns that it's not his real parents. The tragic accident that killed his mom was staged. They invented trauma to try and awaken some kind of like psychic abilities that, like you said, one of your choices, you can travel back in time, literally through the looking glass, Derek.
Hmm.
That's from the Alice in Wonderland sequel that this is all based on,
Yep,
right?
Bandersnatch is from the Through the Looking Glass,
Right.
which is of course that is the monster that shows up in I think a poem within the story.
Yeah, and so you, Stefan, in one of these branching timelines that you kind of create by making choices, he can travel back in time by stepping through mirrors.
Hmm.
And so, like you alluded to, one of the possibilities for the story is that you assist your child self in a way that lets you be with your mom in her final moments. And it's chilling because this child actor like is asked like, "Hey mom, come with me, honey." But he knows, because it's actually him from the future, that this is the moment the mom's going to die on the train accident. And so one of the choices you can make is as a child. So it's not you're not even affecting the current story, Derek. You are affecting flashbacks.
Hmm.
Like, and it somehow kind of all makes sense. But so my favorite ending of all of them is one you alluded to earlier, where like this the little boy slash old boy from the future decides, yeah, mom, I'm coming with you, and you choose death. And the train crashes, and then it cuts forward to Stefan in the future, and he's in therapy, and his body just stops. And the therapist, did you see that ending?
Oh, I did, and because that was actually going to be my question for you was what is your favorite ending? And because that was also my answer was that ending.
It's so chilling and haunting and beautiful. And like as someone who has lost his mom and like wondered like what I would do for like one more day, you know what I mean? Like, oh, Derek. Powerful movie, really powerful movie. That's definitely my favorite ending. I feel like it's the most Black Mirror-y.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
I
listened to a
agree.
podcast that said that like this is what a lot of people consider the true ending. But you had asked about themes, so I'm so happy that this timed up perfectly. Hello again, Derek. Your second pods prompt is now ready. Would you like Jaymo to segue into a tangent on A, having relations with a swine, or B, bestiality?
I mean, I feel like that's just two of the same answers, but I guess we'll go with A again, the first ever episode of Black Mirror.
First up, flips on a Black Mirror. I was hoping you got the reference, Derek.
Of course, of course.
But so for those who think I'm just being a total creep right now, the pilot of Black Mirror is this really chilling premise where like this politician is being blackmailed into doing something very humiliating on live television slash internet in order to save the life of an innocent royal hostage. And it's all just this political drama of like what happens in the polls if I do this thing, and like And it has such a gut-wrenching twist ending that I will not spoil for anyone who hasn't seen it. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I
The
absolutely remember. Yes.
but don't you think I should leave that for unspoiled?
Yes. Definitely do not spoil that if anybody has not watched the Black Mirror episode 1 yet.
Right. Oh, and the relation with the swine thing, like that's kind of a gut punch, but it's like 3 minutes into the episode.
It's very much to the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, that's the premise of it. Is like, what would a politician do to do the right thing?
Which
Is that
just real fast side note, I love how, like, I remember when I watched it because I'd seen, I think, some later episodes of Black Mirror, and it's like, oh, like, it's stuff like this, or it's like, oh, what if you could, like, remember all your memories, or like what if, like, you lived inside of a phone, like all these crazy premises, and this one's just like, yeah, like, somebody's getting blackmailed, and I'm like, oh, okay, like, this is not what I imagined Black Mirror would be, but so I like how it's really developed over the years, but go on.
Well, yeah, but also I think that episode like sets the tone of like, this show is gonna make you uncomfortable, but it is gonna be incredibly compelling, and they are gonna put forward plots that you have never heard of before.
Yes.
But anyway, I don't bring that up just to be a creep though, because I think all Black Mirror, or a lot of Black Mirror, it kind of devolves into or not devolves. It is derived from this fear of being watched, right? This anxiety of people watching us, whether it's like the metalhead robot that's the killer drone. Did you catch that reference in Bandersnatch?
I did see that. I haven't seen that episode, but that's the one with Bryce Dallas Howard in it, right? That episode?
No, Bryce Dallas Howard. Well, actually, I think she might have been in a couple, actually. But the one that I'm thinking of is the one where everyone can get upvoted or downvoted, like the world is Reddit. And based on how likable you are, you get treated differently and are allowed in different social spaces. And that one is all about Bryce Dallas Howard getting canceled. And it's just like circling the drain of popularity and how like stressful that is.
Okay.
But I loved how this episode plays with that theme of being watched in so many different ways. Literally being watched by a government that has a conspiracy that's hiding from you, being watched by a cruel God, being watched by your family. Like, in every sense, there's this anxiety of feeling that Stefan feels eyes on him. And I almost felt guilty at points. Like, there's points where, like, he is struggling to resist your control. And, like, it's like one of the choices is, like, bite your fingernails or not. And so if you choose bite your fingernails, he'll bite his fingernails, but the actor is struggling not to. You know, because he's being watched, he's being controlled. And I thought it was really chilling because since we did not watch it officially, we didn't get to see the on-screen prompts.
Right, because there's some like there's ones where like you choose like the logo, there's that little branching path logo and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it made me feel more like Stefan because there's a point where he has killed his dad and he looks up to the heavens and says like, "What do you want me to do?" And we can't see what choice was made because we're just watching the version without the prompts. And he goes, "Really?" And then it cuts to him sawing through his dad's arms with a hacksaw. Horrific Foley work. I recoiled from that scene. But that is the only path to get the quote unquote happy ending where your game is beloved. If you go crazy enough, or if you give in to your inner demons enough, makes great art. And your game. So because the credit sequence of this show is essentially this video game review show. And if you get a bad ending, they're like 0 stars or 2 out of 5. Oh, it feels like they gave up halfway. Oh, it looks like they weren't really making choices they wanted to make. And so what do you think about the only way to create Stefan to create a perfect game? He needs to kill his dad.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the movie kind of makes you make these like decisions that you would not normally want to make. And like I said, it teaches you that early on where it's like, okay, you can take this great deal, but then that shows like, oh no, like, you know, Will Poulter says immediately, you made a bad choice. You see that it gets, that's the one where you get the 0 stars, not 2.5, but like, it's like, this game sucks, it's awful, it's made by a committee. So it's like, okay, well now I have to make a choice that I would not normally want to make. I will have to like decline this offer. And so throughout the film, you're like doing these things. You're like, okay, I'm going to go down this path. Nope, that isn't working. It takes you back to that little TV subscreen. You get to go back in time a little bit. And it's like, okay, I tried burying, or see, now I'm doing it too. Stefan tried burying his dad out back, but, you know, you have the dog from like the beginning come back and dig him up. So it's like, all right, you got to cut him in half. And it's like, really? And it's like, yeah, I'm sorry. That's the only thing you can do. And I also like how all these choices you're making warp reality around you. Like there in most stories, whether it's choose your own adventure or whatever, it's a video game. When you're choosing something, you're finding out the truth, right? You're not choosing the truth. Whereas in this, it's like your dad is either your dad or he is a government psyops agent, depending on what choices you as the viewer have made. It affects the backstory, which I think is so interesting and innovative. And one of my favorite examples of that, to go back to my favorite ending and your favorite ending, is when Stefan goes through the mirror into the past, goes through the looking glass, and he sees where his dad has taken his beloved stuffed animal away that caused the whole accident with his mom, and put it in this like crazy safe thing. And you can either put in one of a couple things. You can either put in PAC, and that leads to the whole conspiracy that we were talking about, where you were getting like dosed with LSD and you're finding out that you're living in like a set and all this stuff, and you're just like some MK Ultra experiment. Or you can put in toy, which makes it toy that is there. Either one will open it, which you're choosing your own reality. And if you choose toy, you get to unlock this childhood trauma and you put it under the bed. And the next day you're like, okay, cool. I have now saved my mom. I have cured my childhood trauma, because the reason my mom was late was because I could not find my toy. So she got on that 8:45 train instead of the 8:30, and that train crashed. And then that scene starts to all play out. It seems like it's going to be a happy ending. He finds the toy, and she's like, "Okay, let's go, Stefan." And she's like, "Oh, it still took too long, and you're still gonna get the 8:45." And there's a beat where like Stefan, as a kid, kind of like you see this realization. She's like, "Are you gonna come?" And it's clearly like that's Stefan from the future there, because he knows, okay, he has not managed to save his mom, but he's still changing the past. And rather than going off on this crazy thing where he's like chopping his dad to bits and like breaking reality into Netflix shows, he is going to go with his mom there at the end, and they will be together in their last moments. It is, like you said, the most Black Mirror ending, because Black Mirror endings are sometimes they're cruel, but I feel like a lot of times they're a little bit bittersweet. They're like, okay, this is like not a happy ending, but it's better than like, oh, you murdered a bunch of people. And it is the most fitting for, I feel like, the emotional arc that we've seen this character go on. And then, like you said, when it snaps back to the future and you just see that Stefan has died in the present without any real medical excuse. And you're not, it's not a happy, and you're not happy for him, but you're like, he has gotten some form of peace. He has moved on from his trauma, and that is why it is such a good Black Mirror ending, because you don't get to end in a happy space, but maybe things have healed a little bit. I thought it was brilliant.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
This summer, Prime Video takes you back before Legally Blonde, before law school, and into the world of Elle Woods in high school. Set in 1995, this Gemini vegetarian knows exactly who she is until her family moves from Bel Air to Seattle. Packed with iconic fashion, 90s nostalgia, and a throwback soundtrack, Elle proves one thing. Law school was hard. High school was harder. From the world of Legally Blonde, watch Elle, a new original series only on Prime Video July 1st.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say he's moved on from his trauma though, because like it was in a way a form of suicide. You know what I mean? Like
he's accepted it, right? He's looked down the barrel of the gun of this trauma that happened to him, and for me, I don't think I would call it a suicide as much as like he's accepting, what has happened, and he is going with it. I don't know. That's my read on it.
I can see that, and it is shot in a way that is, like you said, bittersweet and kind of hauntingly beautiful, and like and I love the acting of the actor who played his therapist, and when she's just basically sobbing, being like, he just closed his eyes for a second.
Yeah.
Like he was just sitting there, like nothing happened. He just turns off. Well, he turns off just like a video game, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, game over. And I think we got to talk about
Alice Lowe. Definitely gonna shout her out.
She was great.
She was great in this. Yeah,
fantastic. And I love the fight scene ending where she whips out like those two batons. It's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like I can't believe the different. I mean, it's polar extremes, which you could argue that the character like mentally has. I don't know if he's bipolar. I can't diagnose him that way, but he definitely has like kind of like a borderline personality disorder of like, not understanding boundaries and when to stop. And it's such a commentary on crunch in game development because the story is set in the 80s. And first of all, like, what a vibe. Like, I love the music. I love the look of the electronics store. I love Colin's girlfriend with her weird like frizzy orange hair, and like now it seems like you'd see that again. Like it's kind of that kind of eccentricity fashion wise has sort of come back. But in researching for our podcast, it is very wild to learn just how poorly treated game developers were when some of our favorite games were being made. Like this is an era where game developers were not allowed to put their actual name in the credits of a game because the studio didn't want them to be scouted and sniped from a competitor, so people had to put initials or nicknames. This is from an era where Nintendo developers were sleeping under their desks and using curtains as blankets because they literally, if they went home, they would not have time to meet their deadline. So Stefan's mania and just how taxing it is. And every time, I don't know how you felt about it, but like you see him developing his game, and every time that boot up screen crashed, I felt the despair of like losing a podcast recording or like, that lost data frustration where we've all wanted to just pour tea on our computer and be like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, look, we do it for the love of the game, right? But like, I don't know if people who don't create things understand just how disheartening and stressful it can be to try and create something entertaining on a regular schedule and still be a human being. I don't know. Am I whining too much, or can you relate?
No, I totally get what you're saying, because it is just like you are really rooting for him to create this thing and you're feeling the crunch. Like, it's something that came up in our Majora's Mask episode, which, I talked about how that is just my favorite game of all time and how much their crunch was just surrounding that game to the point where it is in the game itself. Like it becomes very meta about like, oh no, the world is going to end in 3 days. We have such a quick deadline. We have to get to this thing. It's clear that what was on the game designer's mind made its way into that game. And I'm not happy that that was the circumstances that game was created in, but it did make some really good art. And I think that this film really does a good job at commenting on that while not endorsing it. And also being like, yeah, sometimes really great art comes from really dark circumstances and places. Obviously, you have the original book, which was by the author who went insane and murdered his wife. But then you have the stuff with Stefan as well, where it's like the worst decisions you make for him, like, taking a nice contract, taking your pills, like the worse the game is, to the point where to get, like you alluded to earlier, to get a 5-star review from that little nerd guy with the bad haircut, where it's like, here's Bandersnatch, he comes on at these various endings, and every time it comes up with a rating that isn't good, you're just like, man, this sucks, and you really want to get a good ending. And then, like I said, the only way to get that good ending is to have a horrible ending, is to have him murder his dad, be in jail, and be apparently, I don't know why he has a TV in his jail cell, but cool, good for him. But it's weird because you're just like, wow, this is a horrible, despicable ending. You just chopped your dad to bits. Your life is over. This is just dark as fuck. But God, it feels good to get that 5-star review.
Well, right, yeah. I feel like people are really harsh on the review guy. Like everyone's like, oh, this wiener in a suit, and it's like, Derick, before I went bald and grew a beard, like I kind of looked like that guy. Like that guy has like low-key Jaymo energy. So take it easy on him, okay? But I loved I guess we'd call him co-star of this movie, William Porter.
Will Poulter. Who went from being a huge dork to having the best glow up of all time.
Yeah, yeah. And he was like on We're the Millers. He
Hmm.
was the son, but he plays the sort of savant game developer that is Stefan's hero. And he has some of my favorite scenes because he is he is aware every time you restart and try to take a different path. He'll
Hmm.
be like, "Oh, we've been on this before. Oh, I've met you before,"
Hmm.
and
And
that's
he becomes
insane
more
because
aware the longer it goes, it feels like.
yeah. Yeah, because I've done choose your own adventure games. I love choose your own adventure books.
Hmm.
When I was a kid, like that was my go-to at the elementary school library. I felt like I was getting away with something. I'm like, oh, this is like a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And like
yeah.
that, sometimes the teacher would see me flipping through pages and be like, Jeremy, you have to actually read. I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm taking a different. You don't understand. Like it's like, you know what I mean. But I was
Yeah,
a good enough boy back then that they kind of let me do
yeah.
my thing. But the fact that they built in a character, so they were making this movie, and they're like, oh, I have different paths. Wait, 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 wait. What if one of the characters knew you were taking different paths?
Hmm.
Well, you have to make a whole new path for that thing. And it's like, yeah, and we're doing it. There's apparently over 1 trillion different combinations possible,
Wow.
and but I was also very pleased to see that in watching it for 90 minutes, I got essentially enough of each storyline,
Hmm.
right? Like I looked up all 10 endings, and I feel like I had experienced parts of it just by watching the first hour and a half of the 5 hour
Yeah, because they pretty
plus.
much hit you with all of the main plot lines in the at least the way we watched it.
Right, which means that the other 3.5 hours I didn't watch is just like subtle differences and like
Yeah,
little.
I because I did fast forward and watch a little bit of it. There is some differences, but it's a lot of like I saw him like what's going on here like about 8 times. I kept fast forwarding and it kept being that scene. But there's also like little stuff like if you choose one serial at the beginning, like later on it's on the TV. There's like shit
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, so fun. But so I love the storyline or the plot line or the branching timeline, however you want to say it, where you do drugs with him in his apartment
Yeah.
because that is one of the few choices that you have to do. It doesn't matter if you say
Mhm.
yes or no, you are taking the LSD,
Yeah.
which is fascinating because it's like, okay, so is that the filmmakers being like, this is how strong the pressure is to self-medicate when you are not unwell? And I kind of loved the fact that to get the good ending, you need to go down these dark paths of like drug abuse and suicide and murder because I think that that is like so my mom struggled and had medication for her mental unwellness, right? And she didn't like taking her meds because she said it made her feel less creative and it numbed her creativity. And so I am sort of sympathetic to these people who are like, I have this one, she was this wonderful composer. She was a great musician. And so I could, on some level, understand, like, I don't want to lose that spark. I don't want to lose this magic. Like, you and I did 15 minutes of Amadeus together.
Mhm.
If we medicated Mozart, would we have, the music that we had? Where does that line between genius and a person who is suffering and need help, where do you cross, and when should you stop? When should you step
Mhm.
in? And when should you let someone push themselves to the brink for the sake of a great creation? I don't know. It kind of reminds me of like Stranger Than Fiction almost, with and Will Ferrell's decision he makes in that movie.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because like you say, you have to make that choice of does he continue to take his pills and his medication or does he, throw them down the toilet? And obviously if you take the pills, the game comes out, gets 2.5 stars out of 5. It's a half made game and it feels like he went on autopilot. So it is kind of like saying that same thing of like, he is kind of dulling his creativity, his emotions. But if you go down the other path, things don't go so well either. You might get a
No.
5-star game, but it's not going to be great. And to talk about the other scene where he takes acid with Will Poulter, I love that. That is the one scene really where someone says to Stefan like you have a choice. This is your choice, whatever you want to do. They it's one of the few times in the movie really draw attention to like this is whatever you want it to be, and then it subverts that by being like either takes it or he slips in his drink. Either way, the next scene plays out. So it's the scene where there's so many choices in this, but this is a false choice. And I
Yeah.
thought that was a really interesting thing that they drew your attention to it so much and then was like pull the rug out right on from under you.
Did you learn or hear about the secret ending?
Yes, I did, and I got the secret ending back when I did this initially because I was like, well, I've got to be close. I've watched so much of this that I did it. But yeah, go ahead and tell everybody what it's about.
Well, so this blew my mind. This was a YouTube video that was telling me about it. But so early in the story, you can choose one of two cassettes, right? And if you don't pick either cassette, if you don't make a choice and you wait long enough, Stefan will take out a completed copy of Bandersnatch.
Yeah. Provided you have watched all of the movies.
Oh, really?
Yes, you have to have watched every option, and then you can do that at that scene.
Okay, so so he puts it in, and apparently I've never experienced this, so like I should let you speak to it because you experienced the secret ending. So what happens, Derek, when you put the completed? So is it a game or is it a cassette that says Bandersnatch?
So it is like a cassette that he puts in, and it's at the time at least it was very underwhelming because it just plays this like weird tone, this kind of like it's almost like a dial tone from that you would hear when you were like logging onto the internet in the 90s or whatever. And I'm just kind of like, what the fuck was that? But apparently, if it's a tone that if you had like this specific old computer, it would play like let you play like a nosedive and like go onto like the Tucker Soft, the fictional game company that exists in it. But I didn't have that old computer. I didn't have a way to, read that tone and go on that website. So it was just a weird noise that it made. And I was like, I watched fucking 6 hours of this shit for that?
Well, so the noise, I don't know what this is, and you know more about audio editing than I do, but apparently if you take the sound and you put it into a CX emulator, the bleeps and bloops that sound like you said like a dial tone will create a QR code. And the QR code, if you point your phone at it or any camera connected to the internet at it, it will take you to tuckersoft.net. And that's where you could play Nosedive on not an old computer. But Derek, are you ready to taste blood? Are you ready to be furious?
All right.
What do you think happens if you open that QR code today or if you go to tuckersoft.net? Where do you think it takes you?
I'm guessing that it's going to be like a Netflix redirect.
It's a Netflix redirect. And Derek, if I told you that they were still advertising Bandersnatch, would that make you mad?
Yeah, it would make me mad because I definitely still because when I was like trying to watch this, I was like Googling like watch Bandersnatch, and it just kept taking me to Netflix's website. It's like, watch it on Netflix. And I was like, I literally can't.
I would love to.
Taken that ability away from me.
Yeah, I was just, and it says, it's got the trailer, it's up there, and it says join now, and I'm like, how many people? It can't be zero. There has to be at least a couple people who signed up excited and were like, oh, you fuckers. Like, you took it down, you killed it. And Netflix, listen, Netflix, I know you're listening, okay? Netflix. Why do you have those weird phone game things? Who opens Netflix to play Angry Birds? That's weird. Like, leave a comment on Derek's whatever if you play the Netflix phone games. I'm not talking about the games like the, Love is Blind game. Those can be cute or whatever. I'm talking about like just the generic games that are in the Netflix menu, but we lost something really unique like this. Derek, I feel like you play those weird games, Derek.
I do not. Okay. I don't think they're still available anymore.
And no hate if you do. I just don't understand because I feel like all those games you just have on your phone anyway.
So, yeah, exactly. It's like, why would you need to?
I would assume it's for like kids. Like kids want to play these games, but like the parents might not want them to have a phone so they can play on the TV. I guess.
I think that they've moved away from that as well when they got rid of all the streaming stuff because there was stuff like this in Kimmy Schmidt, but there was also a lot of kids content. Like there was a whole. This is before like the Puss in Boots resurgence a couple years ago when the Last Wish came out. There was like a Puss in Boots like choose your own adventure thing. There's a lot of kids stuff on this, and that's all gone now. Like all of like I said, the last two holdouts were Bandersnatch and Kimmy Schmidt. So, but I can see that like Dark Side Jaymo is about to come out. I can see you slowly moving your glasses up. So hit me with my next choice.
Sorry to interrupt you, Derek. But you have one final choice to make, and it is incredibly important. Before this episode concludes, I'm so scared.
Oh, God.
Should Jaymo, A, take a shot of Talisker Surge single malt whiskey, or B, do the one-chip challenge?
I wrote a little song to remind you, Choice Hotels get you more of the experiences you value. The Cambria Hotel's got it all. A rooftop bar, have a ball. Bring a date, your squad, or even your mom. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Ever wonder where Tropicana got its name? The tropics. And every time you enjoy a glass, you're not just drinking juice. You're taking a trip. stepping into sunshine and embarking on a flavorful journey into the tropics where ripe fruit is crafted into wildly delicious juice. And the best part? No passport required. Tropicana. Give life some juice.
You know what? I'm going to say take the one chip challenge. I'm going B this time.
Oh, God! Derek! Derek, why have you done this to me?
Listen, you did it to yourself, buddy, okay?
Scary.
I mean, maybe I am the Netflix chooser. I am the decider.
I've had this for 3 years out of fear. I have an ulcer. This could literally kill me. All right, Derek, for you. I'm not going to eat the whole chip because I need to finish the episode. But this is the Pakui one chip challenge. It turns my tongue blue. Oh, God, Derek. I'm so sorry if this ruins the rest of your episode. You can do my outro for me, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to do this, but Derek, maybe? Oh, my God. Oh, my God, that's so bad. Oh, God, that's so bad. Oh! Ah! Derek. Oh, God. Oh, God.
Describe it. Is it hot? What is it?
It's like a scorpion. There's like a scorpion in my freaking
All right. Oh. Well, while you are recovering from that, there's a couple more things I wanted to hit on in the movie.
Babe, will you get me some milk? Sorry.
You're good. Jaymo needs some milk. But there's a couple other things I wanted to hit on, which is, of course, we talked about the Will Poulter character, and one of the endings we didn't discuss was the ending where, and I think it is like, it's not the true ending, but it is like kind of the final ending because you see credits roll. It comes up like directed by David Slade and stuff like that, and you see the baby that you saw Will Poulter had, Pearl, in that first scene, is now grown up and become a game designer of her own, and she is now designing her own version of Bandersnatch to be interactive content, possibly for Netflix. What did you think of that whole like little wrinkle, that little ending that we had there that was set in the present?
Mad at you right now. Oh my God, I'm so mad at you.
Listen, man,
I trusted you. I thought I would do the shot of whiskey.
Listen, hey, come on, man. You can't give me options and then be mad when I express my free will.
I think Stefan can be mad. Oh my God, I'm sweating. Oh my God. That was really bad, Derek. That is awful. Wow, I'm so sorry. I loved the ending. I'm going to try to land this plane. I love that ending. Spilled milk all over my phone. I spilled milk all over my phone. I love the ending where Colin's daughter is taking up the mantle, because in that end, that's the ending where you convince Colin to jump off the side of the building, like I want to do right now, and she finds his unfinished game and like finishes developing it, but there's signs that she is also going to go mad, that Pax is after her too. And I love the whole thing. Did you think Pax was like a real entity, or was it like in their imagination, or is it depending on the path you choose?
I think it's depending on the path you choose, right? And because it's interesting because it is, once again, with that free will stuff, it's what we're talking about. Like, there's obviously the original author that he's basing this on, and Stefan, they are having some mental health issues, but also they're kind of right, because we are seeing this, and we are making these choices, and we are choosing these things for them that are actively ruining their lives. So while he should not have like murdered his wife or whatever, he was on to something with his whole like free will and different realities and all this shit.
Yeah. But like, it also is really sad because like the daughter is going to go mad as well. Everyone who touches this Bandersnatch plotline, whether it's the book or the 80s game or the reimagining, which is Netflix. She made the Netflix game we played.
Yes.
So it's just like, we are seeing this. This is not only a meta movie, we are seeing it from every possible meta angle. Like, I half expected the movie to turn into claymation at one point and just be like, hey, this is actually a cartoon, or like, I really would love to do something for them to do something like this again. Not the one chip, but the my lips are burning, Derek. Oh my God. It's gonna become very ASMR as I just gasp into the microphone. But I loved that ending. I think we kind of covered most of the endings at this point. I wrote down a list, but I loved, though, Colin's breakdown when he's on the LSD and he's like, oh, Pac-Man, it's a nightmare, it's a maze. how many times has Pac-Man died? Never bothers him. And like you could have sort of admire the bravery of these men's insanities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, I think the only one we didn't talk about is probably the least interesting, where you just pour tea on your computer.
Yeah, which
Like,
comes
I just
back in the daughter's ending. I love that one. It's
yeah,
implied that she maybe did get out if she's able to pour the tea on.
yeah, and there was something very British about like, you know what's going to save us? Tea. Like that was that offensive? Did British people not love tea as much as I assume?
Listen, we poured it in the Boston Harbor. They're pouring it on computers. It's fine.
And I poured milk all over my desk and phone just now. I want you to know that. So like, but I love you so much, Derek. Even though you're an unkind God who picked the mean option, I am continuing this podcast as milk soaks into my wife's wood desk. So this this could be a branching pathway that leads me down a whole journey, you guys. I don't know. I can't say enough good things about Bandersnatch. This is an absolute masterpiece.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement with you. I love this thing. I love, it's a real bummer that we can't watch it interactively anymore. And we can't really watch it at all unless you're a little bit of sneaky. And, so it leads me into, the whole question of like lost media, right? Like these things that have been created that just don't exist. And we live in an age where everything should be available, and like that's something that comes in to play with video games too, is like these games that are like you can still emulate them, but there's not official ways to play a lot of these games anymore. And with movies it's so easy, just like put these things up on Netflix. You know why? Like, I know this is a little bit more complicated because you have to have the choices and stuff like that, but the fact that they make these things, that they're gone, I just wanted to get some of your thoughts on these unreleased, unavailable. Oh my God, I'm getting a show. Sorry, everybody. Jaymo just took his shirt off. Unreleased, unavailable things. So I wanted to get your opinion on that once you get your shirt back on.
Taking my shirt off to get the milk. I respect the recording so much. I don't want to pause and go get a towel.
If you can pause it, I can edit. I can edit a pause out.
Hold on, I'll be right back. Lost media. So, have you ever? So I was ready. I love my notes, and I hate when you throw me a curveball question. But I had a feeling you were gonna be like, "Hey, Jaymo, what's your favorite lost media thing?"
That was exactly my question. Yeah, I've asked that to everybody on this series, but it's not. None of them are out yet, so you did not know to expect it.
Have you ever dabbled in Invasion America?
I have not. Tell me.
Animated miniseries. I believe it aired on WB. Directed by Steven Spielberg. And incredibly high quality writing and story and animation. And I remember we recorded that on VHS, and I got like a DVD of it at Comic-Con, and like like the kind of seedy underbelly of Comic-Con, far from like the official booths where like they sell stuff that's mostly legal, but then
yeah.
I got a DVD of it from that, and I haven't watched it yet because it's so beloved from my childhood that like I'm afraid it won't hold up. You know what I mean? So I haven't had the courage to pop it in yet. But that was something where like my brothers and I still talk about. Like, you remember the experience of watching Invasion America and how good it is, and I wish we still could. And I was like, well, I mean, I have a disc. It might not work. I haven't never tried it, but
it might be like a PAL region thing or something.
Or it could be full of like badly spliced commercial cuts or whatever. Like I have no idea what the quality of it's gonna be, but. That was the first thing I remember as a kid being like, oh, this is really cool. What do you mean there's nowhere to buy it or watch it? That sucks.
Yeah.
So that would definitely be my answer. And then, I mean, I feel like I got to give a video game one too, because we've talked about a lot on my podcast, but Star Wars Hunters is the best game you've never heard of. It was a Star Wars MMO in the style of Overwatch that was absolutely fun, and they literally like just did not advertise this thing. And it's gone. And it was my favorite game. It was like my top 5. Like, it was in my rotation. I played it for dozens and dozens of hours and lost to the sands of time. There's some fans trying to recreate it, but there's a lot of wonderful things about the streaming era and being able to access such an incredible breadth of content from so many different levels of creators, but it's kind of a bummer having no ownership and no stake in our own culture and no ability to preserve something and share something and even just look at it academically. I think Bandersnatch is truly groundbreaking. And I think that the fact that something this ambitious and that feels this important is just on some server at Netflix headquarters, and maybe it'll stay there forever, and maybe it'll stay and they'll do a re-release or whatever. I don't know, but this is a bold series. I wonder if other people are going to struggle to be able to watch the things that they agreed to watch with you, because like there was some real stress of like Derek thought I had a copy and I thought he had a copy, and it was like last night, and I was like, so Derek, we got to watch. He's like, yeah, don't you have it? No.
Yeah, I will say it was a bold move on my part to be like, hey, I'm going to do a whole mini series. It's going to go all summer long, 3 months, and it's going to be on movies you can't watch. So, I don't know how it's going to do for my listenership. Like I said, yeah, it's been kind of a struggle to find some of these movies. This one I think was the most difficult, particularly because not only is it something that's unavailable, but it's something where its format is so unique, and it was made specifically to be streamed on Netflix, where Netflix's interface, and if that's not available, you really have to have some crazy workarounds that I was not able to get to watch it in its original intended format. So even though we were able to find a way to watch it, there is not, from my uncle who worked at Nintendo, of course he but we weren't able to even watch it in its original intended way, and so it's a bummer. And I just really want to, as I always do, highlight movies that need more attention. And what needs more attention than movies that they say you can't watch? So hopefully this will raise the tide, 1 centimeter, and we'll, be able to get some of these movies back available. Like, last week I talked about The Fall, which after years and years of people clamoring, like, let us see The Fall, they finally did get a 4K re-release and a streaming release and all that stuff. So it is possible these movies can come back. So at least in some cases, I'm going to talk about a silent film that is largely lost, but even some of those, they find them in barns and stuff like that. So you never know what's going to happen with these.
Never know what's going to happen. Like Bandersnatch, you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
What cruel choice your friend will make, and how close you will stay.
You know what, Jaymo? I think you just wanted to do that challenge, and you didn't want to take the responsibility for it, so you put it on me. Okay, that's what I think happened. He's like, I gotta take this chip challenge, but I don't want to be. What? I didn't do it, Jackie. I had to just eat this chip. Sorry, Derek made me do it.
This is some very victim blamey bullshit you're doing. Also, stop reading me so well. So good. But no, I'm very happy. I'm very happy to have watched this again. I'm happy you're doing this mini-series. And you know what? I'm happy I did the 1 chip challenge. That specter was looming over me. As Jackie kept trying to throw this away, I'm like, no, I'm going to find a special occasion for it. And so I didn't expect
that special occasion is a Bandersnatch episode of Underrated.
Every underrated episode is a special occasion, Derek.
Well, that is very kind, and it's very kind of you to come on and talk about this and eat hot chips and all this fun stuff. So before you go, one more time, where can people find you and find your show?
It's been wonderful, Derek. As one last choice, should Jaymo A, promote an upcoming collaboration, or B, promote an upcoming episode that has not yet been announced?
You know what? Let's go with a collab. I always love a good collab.
Well, I am very excited to appear on the Underrated Movie Podcast to talk about Bandersnatch. Wait a minute! We just did the time through the mirror, Derek! Getting the rabbit!
The White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland!
Whoa!
He's very late for an important date, and that date is the train crashing!
Yeah, I'm gonna travel back in time and take a shot of whiskey instead of the 1 chip. Yeah, so the Old Switch A-Roo, it's always a ton of fun. www.theoldswitcharoo.com. You can find links to our YouTube, social media, all of our stuff there. Link to our Discord. Derek's an active member on our Discord. Come hang out, come talk about games, come play games with us, and come be on next season. We're always looking for new guests and new friends. And Derek, this has been so much fun. Thanks again.
Yeah, no, this has been a blast. This was a really fun episode. I've been wanting to do Bandersnatch for a long time, and I'm glad that I kind of was able to do it as part of this mini series. But yeah, if people want to, definitely, check out that Discord, check out my episodes and all the other episodes of the Old Switcheroo. I love doing that show. And if you want to hear even more of me, you can check out, go to underratedmoviepodcast.com and check out other shows that I do, including Infinity Stones and Dragon Bones, where I talk about recently released Marvel stuff. There's actually a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline right now. There's going to be the new Spider-Man movie. I just reviewed the last season of Daredevil, or the most recent season of Daredevil. And I do a whole other bonus podcast on my Patreon called On Minute Deus, which is currently airing right now once a month. On the 15th of the month, I'm talking about Amadeus in 15-minute chunks. Jaymo was on the second episode of that, so would love you guys to go check that out. Listen to us talking about that. And you can also, on Mondays, when this doesn't come out, I co-host another show called The Midnight Film Society. It's about more recently released stuff, kind of what we've been watching, what's been coming out this summer, all that good stuff. So, Underrated Movie Podcast on all the socials at underratedmoviepodcast.com. One more time, Jaymo, thank you so much for coming on. And if you guys would choose to, I'll see you in another episode.
Or come watch Old Switcheroo. Make your choice. You know, Derek, you've had a lot of good guests on your show, but has anyone ever taken off their shirt in the middle of a recording?
I think this is the first time I saw Nip on any recording.
You feel free to turn that into a TikTok. You're welcome, the world. Yeah, what were we talking about?